my 375 horsepower Jaguar F-Type V6S, and in this video I'm going to tell you exactly why I think this car is the best value for money sports car that you can buy for under 30 grand. Now, if you've seen the Sand Job special episode of the Grand Tour, you'll have seen Jeremy Clarkson, James May and Richard Hammond driving around Mauritania in an Aston Martin DB9, a Maserati Grand Cabriolet and a Jaguar F-Type V6. Only one of those drivers went home and immediately bought the car that they drove through Mauritania.
Did James May come home and buy a Maserati? No, he didn't. Did Richard Hammond come home and buy an Aston Martin DB9? No, he didn't. Did I come home and immediately buy Jaguar F-Type? Oh, yes, it did.
So in the back end of 2023, it was time for me to sell my beloved BMW 430d X-Drive, but this also meant that it was time for me to buy a new car. This time I wanted to buy a real performance car. The criteria that this car had to meet included the following. So number one, it had to sound good, it had to look good. The BMW did look good, but this I think probably looks a little bit better. It had to drive very good, it had to handle beautifully, it had to just have a very nice smooth ride, although this isn't the smoothest, it's actually relatively firm, but it's a sports car. It had to cost less than 30 grand and it had to have a modern enough interior. Now, the cars that I was looking at the time, at the back end of 2023, included the BMW E92 M3, you know, the naturally aspirated V8, the BMW F82 M4, a 5-litre V8 Mustang, and obviously a Jaguar F-Type. Now, the E92 M3 was a very, very close decision. I almost bought one of them. The reason I didn't was basically because, well, a couple of things. The car would have been quite a bit older. You're probably looking at like a late noughties to early teens car. They sound absolutely beautiful. I think probably of the cars that I've mentioned, probably the best sounding car. But the thing that held it back most was the interior. It really wasn't modern enough. The M4, the F82 M4, beautiful car, definitely faster than any of the other cars. Looked really good. Realistically, I was coming from a 4 Series, the same model basically, and going to an M4 didn't really seem like enough of a change and wouldn't have felt as special as I really would have wanted it to. And on top of that, the insurance was absolutely ridiculous. Then there was the 5-litre V8 Mustang. Nice cars, sound great, look pretty good, but at the end of the day, the interior was just a bit not very nice. It would have been terrible on fuel. Not that this is much better. Not a very nice place to sit. Didn't really seem that special. And then obviously, there was the Jaguar F-Type. There's a number of reasons which made it the easy choice out of all of those cars. Reason number one, I think, would be the sound. I would hands down say that this is the best sounding V6 on the market, and there's other people who've reviewed the car that would agree. The tone that you get out of this car when it's in the high revs, I think it revs to like 7,000, even stock, is absolutely beautiful. Number two, the looks. I mean, just take a look at it. For the price that you're paying, the kind of looks that you get with the car, after having owned this car for 10 months now, the amount of attention that it gets, you know, I'm driving around in an Aston Martin DB11, that does get a lot of attention, but kind of unwanted attention. The first time I drove it, I got called a knobhead by someone. But in this, it seems like everyone absolutely loves it. I just get nods from everyone when I'm driving through Newcastle. It's usually lads. It's always the guys who are looking at me and just giving me like good nods saying like, yeah, nice car, mate. I just get compliments. There was a homeless guy I drove past and he just said, now that's a motor. When I've asked friends in the past, because obviously they're not really car people, I've asked them just out of curiosity, how much do you think this car costs? And the average answer I get usually ranges from 60 to 70 grand. I bought this car for £26,000, 30,000 miles on the clock. It's the 65 reg, so late 2015, early 2016 reg. Yes, it's 8 years old, but it's an absolutely timeless design. Like, just the way that it looks, I don't think it'll ever look bad. And then finally, there's the interior. I think the interior holds up very, very well. To modern day standards. Like I said, it's an 8-year-old car. The only thing that really gives it away is the infotainment, which is quite dated. But again, if you want, you can spend a few £100 and get that updated to Apple CarPlay. But other than that, for the price that you're paying, 375 brake horsepower, proper sports car that looks like that, I just don't think it gets any better. So yeah, when this car first came out, I think it was probably 10 years ago now, it absolutely shook up the car enthusiast world. The way that it looks holds up to anything else that you'll pull up next to on the road. Even when Jeremy Clarkson drove it for the first time on Top Gear, I'm pretty sure he said that this is the most beautiful car he's ever seen.
I think this is one of the best looking cars ever made.
And you know what? I think I agree with him. You know, I recently did a review of the BMW M4 competition that we have. It's a 2023 plate, so it's almost brand new. It's a modern day sports car. A BMW M4 is supposed to be like the pinnacle of BMW engineering. It's one of the flagship cars. And in the video that I'll put here somewhere, you'll see that I said, after driving it for a little while, it just didn't seem to have character. It seems like cars these days, modern cars that are being produced, even the sports cars, are losing all of the character. Whereas this car, for being 8 years old now, it's just absolutely full of it for me. Especially coming from a BMW 4 Series beforehand, you know, a diesel car, coming into a 3-litre supercharged V6 with that soundtrack. Every single time that I get in this car, it feels like an occasion. I can't wait to drive it. Every time I get out of it, I look back just to see what it looks like, and every time it just looks fantastic, I can't lie. With 375 brake horsepower, you know, this isn't the 5-litre supercharged V8, which also sounds absolutely thunderous, by the way. This is obviously the V6, this is the V6S, so it has 375 brake horsepower. You can get just the V6, which is 340. I did buy one of those before. I'll tell you what happened to that car later. I don't think you need any more than 400 horsepower. It's not the fastest thing in the world, but I'm not driving this to be fast. I'm not driving this to race other people. I'm not a divvy. 375 brake horsepower is all you need. God. Every time. So now we're gonna go meet my friend Albright. He's seen the car, but he's never actually been in it. So we're gonna get his first reaction and see what he thinks of the car. What's happening, Albright?
Hi, yeah, I'm good. How are you? Yeah.
So you got a new car there as well?
Yeah. Purchased it not too long ago. It's been a few weeks now, but it's nothing compared to this beast that I'm looking at.
How much do you think the car cost?
Like today's value,
Yeah.
I would say maybe 60K.
60. 26 grand.
26 grand. Today's value.
Yeah.
I'll buy that off you right now, bro.
Wait, how much did you pay for that?
Well, this will be 20 grand.
20 grand?
Yeah.
But yeah, what year do you think it is?
Wow, it just looks so clean. It looks like it could have been modeled this year, I can't lie to you. Let's say 2017, 16.
So it's a 2015, it's like
Okay.
a 65 plate, so
Okay.
you haven't been in the car, you've seen
I haven't, no, yeah.
it. I just want to get your honest reaction, so I guess we'll jump in.
Let's do
What
it.
do you think, yeah?
Let's do it.
See what you think though. Yeah, see? Losing grip already.
No, it's nice. You can definitely feel the pull.
Yeah.
And if it was drier, you'd feel it even more.
Right there, it's spun up. Like,
Yeah,
I'm just
I
gonna
can
spin
feel.
up in this. 'Cause
That's true.
Like I said before, this isn't my first Jaguar F-Type. This is actually my second Jaguar F-Type. The first one I bought in November last year, and it was a Jaguar V6, so it was just the 340 brake horsepower one. Unfortunately, when I bought that car after a week of ownership, I went to go and take my mate out for lunch, and I wanted to show him the car basically. Get onto a slip road, about to go onto a main road, put my foot down a little bit, and the engine starts misfiring, and I was absolutely fuming. I had to send the car back to the dealership. Luckily enough, in the UK, you know, we have consumer protection rights. So when you buy a car from a dealer, make sure you buy from a dealer. Don't buy private, because you don't get those rights. When you buy from a dealer, you have, I believe it's 3 months. If there's any faults in the car, you can send it back and basically get a refund. So that's what I had to do with the previous car. Sent it back to the dealership. They tried fixing it once, sent it back, and it happened again. So I was like, nah, I'm not having this. Sent it back, said, give us my money back. Within the next month, I went and bought this, the V6S, which is the 375 brake horsepower version. You can feel a little bit of the difference, but it's not massive. So if you're gonna buy one of these cars, make sure that you do your research. I think the mistake that I made was when I bought the previous car, I didn't really look into the service history and how well looked after the car was. I bought that car with, I think it was 45,000 miles on the clock for £23,000, which is still ridiculous. But the thing was, the service history, I don't believe was the best. When I searched for my second car, this car, the service history was the number one thing that I was looking for. This car had a full Jaguar service history. It only had 32,000 miles on the clock. And I could tell it had basically been a weekend car. I think it only had like one or two owners. It had been kept in a garage. 32,000 miles over the course of 8 years is nothing really. So this car had been well looked after. The guy that I bought it off was really nice from the dealership. And I could tell that he cared for the car as well. So yeah, make sure you do your research. Make sure you're buying the right car. To summarize, the price that you're paying for this car is ridiculous for the amount of quality, the actual car that you're getting as well. After 10 months of ownership, yes, the first car that I had did break down and I did have to send it back. But I think as long as you are sensible enough to do your research on the car that you buy and make sure that you buy a good example, a relatively low mileage, well looked after one, I think you'll be fine. For the amount of money that you're paying, the amount of car that you're getting, the way that it drives. I was just saying to Albright before, I've driven some very nice cars. Comparatively, yes, it's a bit of an older car. You're getting the same experience, basically. It might not be as fast, or it might not be as plush, or it might not have the brand. But you basically, even Albright said it in the car before we weren't recording, it's kind of like a mini supercar. And that's exactly what I thought when I first got into the car. So if you do want a mini supercar, yes, it's not really a supercar. It's just a sports car. It's almost like the supercar experience. For 26k, definitely do it. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts on whether you agree with me, if you have an F-Type, whether you've had the same experience as well. Please do let me know in the comments below. Do subscribe to the channel and I'll catch you next time.